After all the activity of the last few months in the garden, you might think that now is the time to put your feet up. Let me tell you, you can't take it that easy. You're a gardener. So what I'm going to do today, I'm just going to show you 5 tasks that I'm going to be continuing to do right through July to keep my garden performing as well as it possibly can. And well, if I just tell you that the last one is a bit of an unexpected twist, but on with it. First task you'll all be familiar with, deadheading. And where better to start than my favourite garden flower, the calendula. Now, if it was later in the season, say end of September, October, I would not be deadheading these anymore. They will have done their job, they will have produced masses of flowers, and I'll be wanting the dead flowers lose all their petals just like that one is there and start going to seed like that one is there. Obviously there's none that far along at this time of year, but for now I want to be taking that dead head off, because the only way I am going to get the plant to perform and provide me with that beautiful massive abundance of bright orange in my garden is to take the dead flowers off. And the reason we take the dead flowers off is the plant then thinks, oh no, that's gone, that was my chance of producing seed, I'm going to have to do another flower. So I always say it does seem quite cruel, but not that pretty in the border, whereas we want more and more of these absolutely beautiful rays of sunshine. So as much as I can, I'm going to take this right down the stem to where it joins the main plant and take that off. Now obviously there'll be times when you're just walking through the garden and you'll see I'm not using anything fancy, just a pair of scissors. You might have snips, you might even use some secateurs, but you might just snip them at the top. If you've got a whole load to do, it's quite quick to do that. But if you can, especially at this time of year when there aren't many, always best to go down to a join, because at that join some other stems will come out, hopefully give you more flowers. Right, task number 2. And this one is one that I have really got to do better myself with, because it is succession sowing. Now, if you're anything like me, at the beginning of the season, you will have sown a whole load of salad leaves. And then maybe a few weeks ago, you will realise that you have too many lettuce to know what to do with. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing at all. You've left yourself without any lettuce. The last thing you want to be doing at this time of year is going to the shops and buying your salad leaves. So the answer is, and I'm saying this as someone who does not do this but wants to, the answer is to sow a line of seeds every couple of weeks, and so that you have constantly got seeds or plants at different stages of growth, and therefore you should not have a gap. But at the moment I have sown some salad crops in here, so I've got a couple of rows of spring onion coming up, I've got a couple of rows of radish up, and I'm going to sow a couple more rows of lettuce. Okay, what I've got here is a variety called Outrageous, which I just loved the colour of these leaves. All I'm going to do is draw, I'm not even going to go and get my hurry, just draw a nice little trough. That's actually quite damp under there, you know, you can see by the different colour of the soil. It's paler on the top and darker underneath. Little line. What I'm going to do anyway, before I put anything down, I'm just going to squirt it with this completely non-fancy plastic bottle. You know what, I've had this for years, and it's got one of these very cheap plastic tops. Now, much as I don't advocate plastic in the garden as much as I can, this has lasted a long time, and it's brilliant for small jobs like this where you don't want to get your watering can out. So just literally, I have moistened the surface or the drill, and then it's just a case of tiny seeds. This might be the last of them, so I don't want to lose these, and just sprinkle them along, and hopefully maybe within even a few days, because it's been very warm here in the UK, and it's got the perfect protection of this lovely trough, we might actually get a few seedlings coming up. Okay, all I'm going to do now, let's just tip a few more in. All I'm going to do now cover them up, and then something you might be surprised to learn is that I've actually got, pat them down first, I've actually got a label all written, and the reason the label is already written is because I had already planted these on the 22nd of June 25, so what's that, about 2-3 weeks ago, and they were coming up quite nicely. And then one day I came along and thought, I wonder if it's time to plant those out, and I looked at the seed tray and they had gone all together. I'll show you what I mean. There it is. They were in here, and there must have been about 8 or 10 seedlings coming up. Now bear in mind, this was in this truck, albeit the lid was open as it is now, and something has got in here and had a nibble. Now actually I'm looking at a radish here as well. Something's had a nibble of that. Now I don't think it's a bird because the lid wasn't open that much. Oh, I hope you can hear me over that plane. And I am wondering if somewhere or other in here there's been a slug. Now I'm looking around now and I can't see anywhere there might have been, but it just goes to show I've probably had a couple of pots in here or something that maybe were harbouring a few slugs. So this now takes me on to my next task that I really must do, and sadly this is one that's an all year round thing. And that is, well, I'll show you. And that is pest control. So when I say pest control, you know that I am organic, and so there aren't going to be any nasty sprays or chemicals involved in dealing with these pests, but the idea is just to be really, really vigilant. Now here in the UK we have had one of the driest springs for a long time, and up till now it's been a really, really hot, dry summer. So slugs and snails, despite what seems to have happened in my little truck over there, they don't seem to have been much of a pest yet. But that's not to say that they're not just waiting to pounce out and get us. So when you've got something like this is my raised bed here and it's lined, you will find that even if you look at the surface of the soil, you might not see any slugs or snail, but have a little look in the nooks and crannies, because that's where they like to live. And if I just have a little look in this patch of lining, I mean, this is why there's the argument, should you line your raised beds or not? Oh dear, I can see not one but 2 little snails, and I feel like I've interrupted something there, but you can see how, you know, it would take nothing for them to come out of there, trot out and get my mange too. So over the hedge they go. The same goes for looking between pots. Now you'll be familiar with this during your seedling time, but if you have got any pots anywhere, do keep an eye on them, especially if they're in one of these gravel trays to keep the water in, because between the pots is a perfect damp place for slugs to survive. And whereas we protect our crops as much as we can with these nets, it can be the case that things still get in there, and they can be things coming from them our trees to come and peck at my brassicas, or it can be the most beautiful but incredibly annoying cabbage white butterflies. And all it takes is that if you have removed your net for whatever reason, for your weeding, for your watering, for your feeding, it just takes a slight gap when you put it back, and a butterfly can get in, and you might not notice it at first. Oh no, but you'll notice it a week or so later when you notice all little eggs on the underside of your leaves, and before you know it, your brassicas have been munched. The other thing that can happen, of course, is you can get a bird stuck in there, and much as we don't want them eating our crops, we don't want them injuring themselves either. So make sure when you replace your nets, if you've moved them for any reason, make sure they're really, really well anchored down. So yeah, hopefully we'll keep the pests out. Right, task number 4. And that brings us into the polytunnel. Now you can see that my polytunnel is mainly set up with tomatoes. I've got my gorgeous raised beds in the corner that I think you can probably hardly see now. They are absolutely packed with the loofah, cucumbers, melons, yard-long beans, and they're really starting to, look at this. it's starting to wake its way up. Hopefully soon it'll meet at the top. But not only do we have to keep looking out for pests, I keep using the word vigilant, and the other thing that we really need to look out for at this time of year, it's been incredibly humid, we need to look out for disease, and one of the worst diseases of the tomatoes, and it can wipe out the whole crop, is blight. But again, if we manage ourselves and manage our tomatoes as well as we can, we should be able to limit, not completely get rid of the risk, but limit the risk of it attacking our plants. Best way to do that, pair of scissors again. Notice anything I'm using here, dead simple, and we need to make sure we've got as much airflow around the plant as possible. You want to make sure that each plant has got room to spread and to grow, and while you're doing this, it's really good because you can see, have a close look at how your plant is doing. You want to be taking out the side shoots, that's a given, but the main thing is any leaves that are touching the floor, because that's when water can splash back up off the soil when you're watering. That's creating a damp, moist environment, and that's what blight loves. There's always a side shoot that you've missed before. Let me show you. I'm going to have to snip that one. I mean, how's that gone unnoticed? I could leave that on. It might even get tomatoes on. I could, if I wanted to, take these lower branches off and try and root it and get another plant, but I think I've got quite enough. But yes, do that, and hopefully you'll get a nice harvest of tomatoes without blight coming along and ruining the lot right at the last minute. While I've been pruning the tomatoes, I've also been stringing them up a little bit more. Some of the strings do get a little bit lax. I've managed to do a bit of weeding around them again, that's really good for them. And I've even done some deadheading, so I'm multitasking there. So yeah, right, okay, last task, Jane. Now, when I say this might be a bit of a surprise, it's a surprise to me as well. So but if you think you know what this last task is going to be, I just want you to take a second now and write it in the comments below, because I don't think many of you will get it right. Okay, task number 5 involves something that if you are one of my patrons, you might have already guessed, because a couple of weeks ago I popped a photograph of this here space on my Patreon page. I'll put a link to that down below, and just asked for some advice with what I could plant up, because to be honest, I've planted everything I need to do, and whereas it's such a luxury to have space left over, I couldn't think of the life of me what I could put in it. So this spot here has been, it had a layer of cardboard down over the winter. It was then topped with some well-rotted manure, but since then it has just been completely neglected. So there were several suggestions, but the one that really caught my eye, and thank you to everybody who mentioned this, was something that I wouldn't have thought of doing in 1,000 years, let alone in the middle of July, and that is planting some Christmas potatoes. So yes, middle of July, I'm looking, what, 5 months ahead now? I know, you know, we mentioned Christmas way too soon these days, but it just so happened that after I popped my post on Patreon, there's a tongue twister, I was in a garden centre with friends, and these were advertised as potatoes for Christmas, so I just thought, perfect, absolutely perfect, I can put them in. There's only 7 potatoes, Pentland Javelin. I'm going to put them in a row here, just keep watering them, earthing them up, and basically they can get on with their own things. So it's not just that, I did manage to get some red Brussels sprouts on offer as well, so I'm dead pleased with those, because now is the time. If you've got any gaps in your garden, get yourself along to the garden centre and they'll have packs of seedlings, half price if not less. So it looks like for Christmas dinner we are going to be able to dig up our own Christmas potatoes and our own red sprouts at the very least. So did you guess that? Did you put that in the comments below? What do you think? I'm going to get on with planting these and then I'll come back to you. All I'm going to do, I've actually left my spade in my shed at home, so it's going to be good old faithful hurry hurry, dig a hole 6 inches deep, which fortunately is the depth of my hurry hurry. I'm hoping it's going to go through this. Yeah, it's fine. Like I say, on top the soil has been quite nice. It's raining on me now again. It's been just beautiful, beautiful weather. Now it's raining again. Someone's trying to tell me to stop. Okay, right, that's all there is to it. No digging big trenches, no filling with manure. This is already being well done. That to me is 6 inches deep. A little bit of water like I always do. Make sure I've got the eyes facing upwards. I'll rub that one off. Okay, in it goes, press it down, and let's look forward to Christmas dinner. Okay, I hope that you have, I don't know, if not learned something there, just seen what I'm getting on with in the garden during July. Let me know in the comments below what your main jobs have been, what you need to do. Are you in a different sort of climate that calls for completely different things? It'd be really, really lovely to hear from you. Press the subs button, press the like button, leave me a comment. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye for now.